Hi, my name's Joe Jacobs and I lost $20,000.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Bernas. My husband and I lost money, around $63,000.
My name is Emil Landry. I lost $22,470.
My name is Lan Wang. My parents lost $10,000.
And I'm Angelina King. 2 years ago, I first reported on Bank of Montreal customers who lost thousands of dollars after unauthorized e-transfers were sent from their accounts. And since then, I've received more than 24 emails from other BMO customers saying the same thing happened to them.
It's really difficult. One of our kids who we had planned, we had saved for them to go to university, so they've had to defer it probably for a couple of years.
At 80 years old, that's when you take all your money out, it hurts a lot. So I had to get my son to lend me a few dollars.
Yeah, we were so depressed. That's a sleepless night. It's hard.
They were on the pension, and this money was basically all their savings.
Several one-off incidents have been reported in the media, all outlining a similar situation, how the money disappeared and why the bank won't reimburse the customers. Now, more than 140 BMO customers have banded together with the plan of filing a class action lawsuit against the bank. One of the organizers says collectively they've lost more than $1.5 million.
So this community is providing folks support. It's empowering them to have a voice, to share their voice. A lot of us have felt ashamed, how could this happen to me? We have people from all walks of life. We have seniors who have never done online banking. We have newly immigrants. We have professionals like doctors, engineers, and we have business owners. And we're all across Canada.
The scenario plays out quite similarly for the BMO customers we spoke to. Out of the blue, they noticed that their accounts had been drained, checking, savings, even lines of credit. Fraudsters somehow logged into their accounts and transferred money to themselves, using e-transfer, global money transfers, and setting up payees. But to the bank, it looked like the customers logged in and did the transactions themselves. The bank told them that their passwords were used, one-time codes were sent and entered correctly, and in some cases, even the IP addresses matched. And because of that, the bank wouldn't reimburse them. The customers filed police reports and went to the National Ombudsman, who sided with the bank. Investigators weren't able to catch the fraudsters, and the customers have no idea how their accounts were hacked.
People are so vulnerable to being hacked or to having their security compromised, and yet it's a system that we're essentially forced to have to participate in. And I guess I just feel like the bank has to take a bigger role in providing security for their customers.
In a statement, a BMO spokesperson said the bank is determined to work with government, the tech industry, and other banks to help Canadians defend themselves against these types of scams. Introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your background.
Kenrick Bagnall. I'm a former law enforcement professional with the Toronto Police Service. My last 8.5 years were specifically working at Intelligence Services in the Coordinated Cyber Center, which is the agency's cybercrime unit. I spent 12 years of my career in Bermuda, where I worked for a bank for 4 years, building out their network infrastructure and securing it.
How did this happen? How are these people getting into their accounts?
Yeah, a lot of this is happening using malware, infecting the victim's computer with malware. And what that malware did was that it harvested all the credentials. So anything that you had saved in terms of your convenience card account for logging into your banking, your password, your IP address, so everything about your computer environment, so it could be your computer, your tablet, even a mobile phone. What the malware would then do is that it would bundle all of that into a package. It would send it off to the dark market, and then the dark market proprietors would then sell it off to hackers.
How much are they selling it for?
So we're talking a range that could be anywhere from maybe $50 to $200. It really does depend, because there are a lot of variables. Some of the things that are being sold here are exactly that. Here's a compromised driver's license. Here's another document. It's a Canadian driver's license for British Columbia. They're now logging into the banking infrastructure, and as far as the bank systems are concerned, because these are harvested credentials from the victim, it actually looks like the victim is logging in themselves. So as far as the checks and balances and controls and the reasonable effort that the bank is putting in from a security perspective, they're doing the right things.
Even if their devices were compromised, the customers say BMO should have reduced the risk of that leading to their money being stolen. And they say the bank should have flagged irregular and suspicious activity, stopped it, and alerted them.
I've never made a global money transfer ever in my 25 years that I've been with BMO. So after the first money transfer, why did they not stop it and question it instead of letting all four go through and empty the accounts?
BMO says it focuses on detecting and preventing these types of situations from happening, and that its systems are continuously adapted to try and help protect customers, but it can't share details for security reasons. The spokesperson said customers can sign up for alerts if the bank detects unusual activity. BMO said these types of scams are becoming more sophisticated and called them a public safety threat to Canadians. This type of fraud is becoming a bigger problem in general. The Ombudsman for Banking Services and Investments, or the OBSI, says in the last 3 years, e-transfer fraud has become increasingly concerning, reaching historic levels. In 2021, the OBSI opened 46 cases of e- and wire transfer fraud, making up 9% of all of its cases. The next year saw a jump to 117 cases, 17%. And last year, 664 cases were opened, making up more than a quarter of all cases. And just a little note, these numbers don't represent all Canadian banks. And the OBSI says that large increase of cases between 2022 and last year is partly because of changes to the Bank Act. The OBSI says in most of these types of cases, it can't recommend that the bank compensate customers because its investigation finds that customers unknowingly gave away their personal information and that the bank complied with all of its obligations. But some experts and consumer advocates say customers shouldn't be held liable if their devices were hacked. They say banks pushed customers to online banking, and so it's the bank's responsibility to maintain secure systems. Plus, they say it's just not reasonable for consumers to be aware of all of the online vulnerabilities.
The current system is a blame the victim system, as opposed to blame the institution that's responsible for setting up online banking and maintaining it, and failing to maintain it in a way that ensures it's safe. And one key change they could easily make is to set up with every customer a dollar amount above which the customer is not comfortable having a withdrawal happen, and there would have to be a full check before any transaction could go through.
I asked the Canadian Bankers Association, which represents Canada's largest banks, about whether the bank should be held liable. A spokesperson didn't answer my question directly, but said the organization works with banks to try and raise awareness about these types of scams and how to prevent them.
So from a targeting perspective, what cybercriminals will often do is that they'll use open source information, particularly in social media. And you can see with this one particular individual here, where they live, where they went to school, who they work for, and people often reveal a lot about themselves in the photos. Concerts that they have gone to, example here as well, there's photos of vehicles. So from the basic information, just looking at it for a few minutes, there's enough here to craft a very, very targeted, very, very sophisticated phishing email. If they click on this, they might get a discount to the next concert, or they might get a preview of the 2025 version of this vehicle before it's released. And ultimately, the user is the ultimate line of defense in terms of their awareness and detection and looking at something that is out of the norm for them. This website doesn't look quite the same. This link is to something I've never seen before. It's really slowing down and being hypersensitive to what you're looking at and questioning it.
Does having a strong password help when someone is selling all my information that includes my strong password?
Well, in a lot of cases, passwords are encrypted, so Passwords are usually decrypted from a criminal perspective using a technique called brute force. So if I have a 4 or 5 or 6 letter password, it can be brute forced pretty easily, only because it's so small. The strength of a password is really in the length of the password. So this is security.org, and what it does, it gives you the opportunity to see how strong your password is. It's going to be based on the processing power of this particular computer. If it was on a computer with more or less horsepower, you would see a different number. I will show you an example really quickly. I will type in password 123. It would take this computer 1 month to crack that password, which is, if it was important enough to the cyber criminal, they'll have a computer sitting off to the side and they would just let that run for 30 days until that password was cracked.
Can I put mine in and we'll see?
I would suggest that you have a pretty strong password.
I'm proud of that.
Because look how long it's going to take. Now, you would either have a cyber criminal with a very, very powerful supercomputer or a lot of patience.
I was nervous. This is like a relief.
Were you nervous typing
nervous,
that?
Yeah.
Right, and you'll see that even, I don't know what the password is because I can't see it. Now, if you add a couple special characters to this, like an exclamation mark.
Oh, wow.
And that was just one character I added. You see what it changes to.
Right.
So the length is really what makes the password.
Many of the customers I spoke with say since they joined the group, their hope has been renewed that they might be able to get their money back.
We all want our money back, right? But because we're dealing with a giant, we're just, David, they're Goliath.
But if not, at the very least, they hope sharing their experience leads to better bank security and helps prevent others from being hacked. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.